Zoey is the most cheerful and energetic girl in the Huntrix group. Right, but the reality is that she's not. Behind every smile, there's a story that very few people know. A story that will leave your heart in pieces. So get your tears ready, because in this video, you'll see the other side of Zoey, who had one of the worst childhoods in Huntrix. Let's start at the beginning of all her trauma and pain, her parents and her childhood. To begin with, and as a fun fact in case you didn't know, Zoey isn't originally Korean. She's half American on her father's side and half Korean on her mother's side. Zoey grew up watching her parents fight every day. It's something horrible, especially for a child, to grow up in that kind of environment and constantly hear arguments and shouting. Just ask Muffin and Socks. You know, the worst part of these fights isn't the arguments or discussions, but rather, Zoey didn't know whether to take her mother's side or her father's. And this is important because it led Zoey to make the decision to start writing songs. We all know that constant fights between parents can only end in one thing: divorce. It was this divorce that created a terrifying imbalance in Zoey, because besides having to deal with all that yelling, now she would have to face her parents' separation. But on top of that, she had to split herself in two, because Zoey lived one day with her mom and the next day with her dad. She didn't have any safe space to be in. There was no refuge for her. She just existed, watching the days go by. And the hardest part is that she decided to change who she really was in order to keep both of them happy. This situation led her to live as two different people, trapped between being Korean and American, without fully fitting into either culture. Leading a double life. It was a moment that marked her for her entire life, just as it marked her at school. Well, that causes big and serious problems, identity issues that can only be resolved by finding your true self. Besides, pretending is super exhausting. You have to keep up an appearance and a smile in front of everyone, when inside you don't understand anything. The movie actually hints that his parents had different nationalities. In the short time he lived with them, there was surely a huge clash of ideas where no one understood each other. And it's because Zoey, due to this issue of not fitting in with her family, also ended up not fitting in at school. She was mocked and looked down on by her classmates. She was too Korean for the American kids and too American for the Korean kids. They constantly compared her, and that made her feel like she didn't fit in anywhere. As a fun fact in the movie, when they sing Golden, it was originally intended for the song to explain a bit about the protagonist's lives. Among these scenes, they planned to show the bullying and the distance that existed between Zoey and her other classmates. But they only showed a little bit of her life. All those identity crises and questions like, where do I fit in? We can see it reflected in the lyrics she writes in her notebook, her part in the song Golden. Now that we know her feelings, they feel sadder, and now we can better understand why. She mentions the following phrase: which makes her story with her parents and the reason for all her anxiety even clearer to us. All of this is a different feeling, what she sings to what she expresses about living two lives and playing on both sides. But that's not the only clue they left us in the movie. If you pay attention to the scenes in the Golden music video, we see how two hands start pulling Zoey toward two different alleys, one representing American vibes and the other a traditional Korean alley. Actually, the two hands represent her parents. If you look closely at the hands, you can see that the Korean side represents a woman's hand, while the other represents a man's hand. And what this scene explains to us is the dispute that her mother and father had over Zoey when they separated. And that's how we find out that her father is American and that she grew up in America and her mother is Korean. After Zoey leaves her father, she continues her career in Korea as a K-pop artist. And that's how Zoey found refuge in music. In one of the first scenes, we see her writing in her notebook, writing in Korean and English, showing both sides of her life, while she draws demons and writes about blood and tears. Under her notebook, there's a magazine of the Sunlight Sisters. They were her refuge during these difficult times. Throughout all her scenes, we see her carrying these photos, and even in the deleted scene, the magazine they tear up is from the Sunlight Sisters. She feels a deep admiration for this group, and it makes her act like them. Even her hairstyle is like that of a member of the group. And in fact, because of this detail, some fans have a theory that she is her mother, and moreover, Zoey tries to remember something when she sees them. This is enough evidence for some people to think that her mother is one of the members, but it's likely that she doesn't know because of her identity crisis, because of everything she was going through. It's possible that some memories were blocked. And it's possible that the divorce and the fights may have started because the mother was very busy fighting against the demons and her life as an idol, trying to protect her family from all these demons. And did all of this affect Zoey? She's not just Korean American. In Korea, there is a spiritual illness known as Shinboen. It's an illness of the spirit that makes you feel like no. First ones who have become people. By the time Zoey joins Huntrix's group, it had already been planned by Celine. Selena already knew who Zoey was, her companion's daughter, and was just waiting for her to be ready to fight. And this, even though her mother wanted to protect her from demons and for Zoey to have a normal life. She wanted her to grow up without worries, but she didn't know how her daughter felt. What Zoey's story taught us is not to set aside your true self, to look for your own place and move forward, not just dwell on the bad things. Zoey is not just a talented girl with a powerful voice, she's a pretty well-rounded character that many people can relate to. Her struggle to belong, to understand who she is, and to heal the wounds left by her family makes her a character who feels like a real human being. Girl, talented one? And if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, give it a like, and comment. Which other character would you like to see? See you next time.